Hey Lena, let's take a look at your week week one assignment three drawings. Good call on getting all of these into one file, and also just a good quality scan or photo of everything. It's very crisp, very clear, and I love it when people can plop all of these guys into one JPEG. I'd say overall, it looks very good. I like that you're, mixing up color a little bit. You've got a good range of grays in place. And technique-wise, I think that you're doing a good job of just kind of pushing further with what we dealt with in the last assignment in terms of just the technique stuff. This is obviously more complicated, dealing with the circles especially, I think, is one of those things that just takes practice and time to get a handle on. But you've done a nice job with these and cutting the edges of the more difficult shapes and some of the tighter spaces of the shapes interacting. And there's only some kind of areas where I think the shapes start to lose some of their form because of because of some of the cutting. There are kind of a few places here and there where the edge quality starts to break up just a little bit. At the top of the rectangle here, there's a little bit where it kind of breaks beyond the bounds of your drawing, or doesn't quite make it all the way up to the edge. So that's where some of the symmetry for me starts to kind of break down a little bit. There's a little bit on the circle too, although I tend to look the other way on the circles for this first assignment because they're just so difficult to get used to. There's also a little bit on some of the blind techniques where there's some big gaps in some of these shapes, especially the one I'm pointing out where it's not much of a shape. It's very thin, and so there's not a whole lot to it. So you gotta make sure that you don't have just as much white showing through as you do marker in some cases. So I think there's some areas where you could stand to either take it a little bit slower or use a straight edge and just get that kind of all the way across. I know that the longer shapes are difficult to do without a straight edge because you're basically freehanding it and just trying to get it to be as straight as your basically as your hand can get it, which is tough on some of the longer shapes. So there's kind of that area. There's a few kind of gaps in the circle here, although they're not anywhere near as, I think, apparent as what's going on in the rectangle. The rest of this stuff looks good though. Some of these really tight spaces I thought you did a great job of dealing with and getting the marker to go right in there and not really lose a step in terms of the technique. The side to sides look very good in that they're nice and even and smooth in their coverage, and you've got pretty decent edge quality overall with those. You could think about going in with the pointed tip of your marker and just filling in some of these tighter spaces just to get it completely filled in. But I think overall it's a good showing of what is, I think, a pretty difficult assignment for the first week, and it's just really to get you more acclimated to using the markers and seeing what you can do with your dexterity in terms of getting the marker into these kind of areas. So I'm pretty happy with it. I think you're moving along well. I don't notice any kind of steps backwards in terms of using the technique, and I think that your next assignment, which we've already seen, is pretty strong as well. So just keep at it, and we'll see you if you get that final in a few days.